Welcome to UNCUT. Steve Adubato here. I'm pleased to be joined by our good friend Keith Banks, who's Vice Chairman and Head of Investment Solutions Group, the Investment Solutions Group, Bank of America. Good to see you, Keith.
Good to be here, Steve. Thank you.
Let me fully disclose that Keith and I played golf together, and it's very competitive. That's all I'm going to say.
We'll leave it there.
Speaking of being competitive, Keith, let's get right to this. We're taping this on the 2nd of September, if I'm not mistaken. It'll be seen after that. The second quarter earnings for Bank of America. How important is a call like that? Are those numbers at a critical time like this in the middle of COVID? How critical are they? A, and B, how optimistic are you about the future?
Well, I can't speak specifically to Bank of America's earnings, Steve, but what's interesting about this year is a lot of people are saying, how can the market possibly be doing what it's doing? It's actually 56%, believe it or not, off the bottom that was created in March. And, you know, when you have GDP down 30% last quarter and earnings obviously cratering as a result of the economy being shut. But what's interesting about this year is because of what the Fed has done and is doing, because of what Washington has done and will continue to do, it's given people the ability to look beyond this year. It kind of built a bridge in a way, and to look out to say, this is such an anomalous year for so many reasons, including the earnings that are being reported by companies. You can't and shouldn't value a company or value the market on current earnings. So people are looking to 2021, 2022 and beyond. And that is what is really driving the markets and driving individual stock performance.
You know, you and I have had many conversations about investment strategy, and I will disclose on my own end. I just had a conversation with our investment advisor, and I'm not alone on this, and we're taping it on the 2nd of September. As I said, it'll be seen later. There's a relatively big election happening on November 3rd that everyone knows about, which may or may not impact the markets that Keith Banks is talking about. But in my mind, I said, I got to get very conservative because it's so volatile, it's so uncertain. So it's not about my particular situation. I just know I'm not alone, that people are looking for predictability, safety, and security in an unpredictable world. Is that a fair description, Keith?
I think it's very fair, Steve. I mean, we've not seen a crisis of this nature before. We've seen other, but this is something that everyone, including ourselves, had to step back and talking about COVID and talking about then the impact on the economy, on markets, on everything. And so, but people are I think people are smart enough to say, this is a unique period of time, and I can't be making decisions on what's happening here and now, because what's happening here and now is not reflective, Steve, of what's going to be happening. And the markets are a discounting mechanism. Fancy way of saying they do the best job they can collectively with all the collective wisdom of all the investors of looking out, seeing what they believe will be the situation then, and discounting it back and reflecting it in individual stocks, prices, as well as the market overall.
Keith, let's shift gears. Let's talk leadership and innovation. Another topic you and I discuss, and I have this discussion all the time, and we're going to use this on our sister program, Lessons in Leadership, that I co-anchor with my colleague, Mary Gamba. So I'm going to ask you about this. When it comes to leadership and innovation, and in the time of COVID, how important is it for a leader, and I don't mean hypothetically, I mean in your case and the leaders you're around, to be incredibly innovative, adaptive, constantly, because things are changing all the time?
I think it's critical, Steve. And look, I think if you look at companies or you look at individual leaders within companies, if you did not build a strong foundation around leadership, a strong leadership framework, I think those individuals, those leaders, and those companies are really struggling today. And we've worked hard to do all the above, certainly within Bank of America generally, but specifically within the group that I lead. So one of the things well, you start with a strategy and a philosophy, and then you ultimately build a culture. But what we said early on, and this is not profound, right? Everyone will tell you this. We wanted the Investment Solutions Group, which I run, to be a great organization. We wanted to be the kind of company that talented people would stay, and more talented people would come. Because as you know, right, my asset are my teammates, our employees. So we built a program around 4 key pillars. And some of this will resonate because you write about this. And you know this first point, the person who has the biggest impact on the experience of an employee is their immediate manager. I may be doing interesting things at the top of the house, but if what they're experiencing day in and day out is not good or is good, that's going to largely influence whether they stay or leave. So what we've done is we've taken a lot of time, and I've personally invested myself in making this happen, ensuring that our leaders up and down the leadership chain, we're skilled, we're talented, and we're held accountable. So number one, you need to have great leadership at all levels. Number two, I've always believed that a top performer, someone who comes in every day, gives you all they have, rise to the top, should be able to achieve their career aspiration in this company. Because if they can't, and they're that talented, they're going to leave. Now, how stupid is that to lose something like that to a competitor?
Stay on that point before you get to 3, Keith.
Sure.
How much has COVID revealed, or the time of COVID, about how good and how adaptive and how talented people really are?
No, it's a great point. And the thing, when this first happened, we all left the office in mid-March, meaning the company pretty much then went from a work from home mode. And when I gathered my immediate leadership team around me and I said, look, this is when we're going to see the people, whether the people we thought were good, whether the people we thought we could count on are in fact those people. And we're also going to see other people who we maybe weren't blinking as bright on our radar screens that all of a sudden are stepping up and doing amazing things. And we're going to find out they are some of the people we need to be thinking about very differently. So it's been a great test for both leaders as well as just the teammates doing the day-to-day work for us.
Keith, let me do this because I interrupted you. Give me real quick 3 and 4 points.
Yeah, 3 and 4. 3 is compensation. And our aspiration there is to say, number one, we need to be fair, we need to be transparent, and we need to be competitive. And the last thing, Steve, is creating a culture of recognition. We are really quick, if you're working on my team and you're not getting something done, to call you in, as we should, because you need to know that, and say, hey, Steve, like, what's going on here? We're falling short. We need more. But we're not nearly as quick when you're coming in and doing an amazing job saying, hey, Steve, I got to tell you, what an incredible thing you're doing. We recognize it. We appreciate it. And if you can create that symmetry, people will sign up for that all day long. If it's only one-sided, you only get the negative, it wears you out. It would wear me out. So.
But Keith, at the same time, you use the expression call people in. I've got about a minute left. You're not really calling people in the way you would call people in, because as we do this program, we're working and communicating remotely. But working and communicating remotely doesn't mean, it's not an excuse for not communicating clearly to people that they're doing a great job, even if you're doing it on a Zoom call.
It doesn't matter. And look, I agree with that, Steve. And what we try to do also in this new environment we're in is, how do you create, I said to my team early on, we need to create structure and connectivity, because we've lost the structure that we know and we lost the connectivity. So we've been doing a lot of things. I host a town hall every week for the entire organization. We're getting 60 to 70% of the entire team, over 1,000 people, dialing in or joining a WebEx. It shows they're craving for it. I do a lot of one-on-one. You talk about the personal connection in your books. I've been trying to do a lot of just getting on the phone, getting on WebEx with people, having them see me, let me hear from them, make sure I understand, because importantly, you need to be empathetic when you're in a situation like this. So we're doing as much as we can to create accountability, create connectivity, and continue as much as we can in a business as usual mode when it's anything but.
Keith Banks talks about connectivity, and whether it's WebEx or Zoom or whatever. I just want to remind folks that while this UNCUT series is also incorporated into our PBS programming in the northeastern part of the country, also you can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, steveadubato.org, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I just want to get that. Is that enough plugging for you, Keith?
It sounds great.
Listen, I want to thank our good friend Keith Banks for joining us. Keith, all the best. Stay safe, be well. See you on the golf course.
Yep, look forward to it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
We'll be right back right after this.